Today is week 6 and we're continuing to look at the film Metropolis. We are looking at political and social change within the world of Germany in the 1920s, and evaluating that is one of our learning goals today. So today I want to be talking specifically about the vamp Maria, the robotic Maria, and how she is a representation of what was happening in Germany during the 1920s. And so I've chosen this critical article to explore the virginal mother of orphans and the vamp anti-mother. So this article gives us a great introduction into the context and what was going on in the background, and it might be worth a look up and it might be worth a read. I'm happy to give you a copy of it if you have trouble finding it. But just to begin with, it starts off the reading. When we first think of Lang's film Metropolis, we think of the Weimar Republic. What better represents the richness and complexity of the interwar period than 4,189 metres of uncut film shot over 310 days and 60 nights about a futuristic city ruled by a megalomaniacal overlord operated by nameless downtrodden workers and threatened by an eroticized female robot. So there we have a great summary of what the film is about and how it is trying to represent the decadence of Germany, and perhaps falsely the decadence of Germany during the Weimar Republic, but it definitely represents that cultural aspect of of the Weimar Republic wanting to be grand and wanting to be great, and we see that just even in the form and construction of the film, which is why it mentions just how big of a project the film was in that time. The relatively late industrialization of Germany, starting in the 1850s and resulting in rapid economic expansion, contributed to the growth and national income, but also widened the gap between the rich and the poor. So there we have one of our first main characteristics of the political and social climate in Weimar Republic in the 1920s. Post-industrialization and World War I and inflation, we have this widening gap between the poor and the rich. And here it says, in Metropolis, this separation is made visible by the division between the workers' subterranean dwellings and the club of suns built high above. It was all very symbolic, the film's director, Fritz Lang, said in an interview. You can pause here and read the rest of that extract, but it just demonstrates straight away that Fritz Lang is, there's a quote about his ethereal intention in creating this film was to demonstrate that divide and to reflect the political climate that was the Weimar Republic. Okay, I'm just going to let you pause this here and read this. It just talks about after the First World War, there was an increase in the female workforce. And the last line I just want to draw your attention to, the modernity of the Weimar system appeared to acquire the shape of secretary, shorthand typist, and shop assistant. So the role of women changed after industrialization and after the First World War, and that's something that we can see very clearly Lang starting to deal with. Produced at the peak of the Weimar Republic, Metropolis addresses bourgeoisie fears of the proletarian revolt, male scientific rationality versus female natural feeling, the role of the new woman in politics and society, and long-standing debate on the nature and sexuality of women and contemporary discourses of social motherhood. The industrialized machine that powers the city is cold and unfeeling and necessitates the intervention of the virginal Maria and the warm-hearted feminized Freda. But the biggest threat is the sexualized robot Maria, the cold and mechanical female fiend birthed by science, who has the potential to destroy the entire social framework of the city. Okay, really important how Maria does embody this fear of the female form to male authority that I've talked about in earlier weeks, but also the fear of what technology could do to the social fabric and framework of Weimar Germany. Here we have a quote to start with from the Bible that demonstrates during this scene where Maria is at the Club of the Suns and is doing her provocative sexualized dance. We see that she does represent the Babylon woman. Okay, so we've got this quote: "The crown rested on the head of a woman, and the woman was sitting upon a scarlet-coloured beast. having 7 heads and 10 horns. And we can see that beast there being represented as Maria comes out of the cauldron, this seething cauldron. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and decked with gold, precious stones and pearls. She had in her hand a golden cup. On the crowned brow of the woman there stood, mysteriously written, Babylon. Like a deity, she grew up and radiated death, and 7 deadly sins bowed before her. We see that inscripted here on the cauldron. So we can see how the Virgin Maria is thus transformed into the whore of Babylon. And we discussed yesterday how the whore of Babylon represents satanic forces and evil. And so we see that there's a montage of disembodied eyes during this scene, and I've included a shot of that here, which reflects not only their role as voyeurs and consumers of this spectacle, but also marks them as men under a spell. And so just again reminds us of the fear, not only of the role of women and the increasing change that occurred in Weimar Republic of the role of women, but mainly also that she is the representation of industrialization and technology and the fear that that was having over the Weimar Republic. Sexual powers robs the men of responsibility for their actions, and the sons turn against one another to fight over who will possess Maria. Okay, I'm going to leave that there for you to stop and finish reading. You might like to pause it and finish reading that section that I've included of the article. And there again, we just have this scene. And I just wanted to focus how this does demonstrate some of the fears and the social and political climate of Germany in the 1920s. So your classwork for today is we have had a general discussion now, or I've had a general discussion of how the film explores social change. I want you to complete the critical reading I gave you yesterday, From Love of State to the State of Love, Fritz Lang's move from Weimar to Hollywood, given to you yesterday in class. On the class page, there is the thinking routine, peeling back the layers. And I want you to, after reading that, I want you to submit it. And I also want you to download the list of related texts, start reading, pick one, and then complete the scaffold. And I'm just going to show you where that is now on our class page. So if we go to our English extension page, if you just scroll down to week 6 here, you will see that if you can click on that, the activity is for you to complete peeling back the layers of the article, and it's just an opportunity for you to make some notes linking to the learning goal today. And then the second thing I want you to do, if we go back to where we were, is your related text scaffold. So I want you to submit them tonight on iLearn so that I can have a look at them and give you some feedback before next week. And so that is all on our iLearn page. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you and seeing you next week.